Hello and welcome to another episode of Spotlight on Health. I'm your host, Dr. Stephen Eschenauer, and today I'm joined by a special guest, Ms. Jane Marks, and Jane is the volunteer president of AARP. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
So, Jane, how did you get involved in AARP? Tell us a little bit about your history. Give us a little bio.
Well, my history is that I was in nonprofit management for many years, and my most recent career was with the Alzheimer's Association. I was the executive director for the Alzheimer's Association here in West Virginia for many years, and we had a very cordial, collegial relationship with AARP West Virginia. Anyway, we did some advocacy work down at the West Virginia Legislature on some common issues. So often we were partners in that arena, so we knew each other very well. And then when I decided to retire, AARP does what AARP does, and they latched on and pulled me in. And as time went on, I got more and more involved, and eventually I was selected to be what they call their state president. What that means is I'm sort of their lead volunteer. We have a wonderful cadre of volunteers from all around the state, and I get to be their leader and sort of be the face of AARP here in West Virginia. And of course, because of my background, I'm quite interested in the whole issue of aging and how we do or do not age, and how we stay fit and active. And so it's a good fit.
Good. So why did you choose AARP? It sounds like you could have gone in a number of directions.
I could have. Well, the first reason, of course, was relationships, because I need the staff. The second reason was I really admire the work that they do, and I really admire the fact that AARP, first of all, works around real data. They don't come up with ideas or pursue programs and activities based on one person's idea. They look at the data, they look at the research, and they also ask their members. There are 38 million AARP members across the country and almost 250,000 here in West Virginia. And periodically we survey them. We ask them, what are your biggest issues? What do you think we should focus on? And they tell us, and that's usually our top priority then.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. AARP has done a number of good things and have really looked at aging and trying to improve the lives of those who are aging. And as you well know, you could probably quote a statistic, West Virginia is one of the oldest states in the nation. So this is a issue that is really close to home.
Exactly. And, it's fascinating for me when AARP decided to kind of venture into this whole idea of brain health. And it was partially because people are living longer for the most part. And so we want folks to be healthy and happy and effective in all ways. We want their finances to be healthy. That's why we fight fraud and financial exploitation. We want them to be physically healthy. We want them to have fun and be fulfilled. And so it made sense that we look at this issue of brain health, because let's face it, we all think about it, especially as we age. We worry about our brains. And finally, there started to be some research around this issue of what we might do, lifestyle changes we could make that might make a difference in our brain health. So AARP decided to launch in, and we created this entity called the Global Council on Brain Health.
So tell me a little more about the Global Council on Brain Health and what are its goals, missions, and where they want to see us, meaning all of us who are aging, in the future.
Right. Well, first, as you know, there are lots of myths and fads and maybe some false advertising out there about all kinds of health-related things. Take this herb and it'll solve all your problems. Do this one thing, take this little pill and you'll be okay. And so AARP actually worked collaboratively with an organization in the United Kingdom called Age UK. And they said, you know what, we need to sit down and do this in the proper way. So they decided to form this collaboration, and AARP took the lead, and they brought together the leaders around the world in neuroscience and brain health. They brought together physicians and neurologists and neurosurgeons and researchers to look at all the data to look at all the research, to look at things like those blue zones that are kind of a popular thing
Yes.
to talk about right now, and say, all right, what's valid? What's legitimate, what's real, what can we believe, and what's just a myth or conjecture. So they form the Global Council, and they meet regularly. They have an advisory board of some outstanding leaders around the world. I was thrilled to see a couple of people on that list that I've actually met through my career years ago. And that's what they do. They weed through all that stuff so we lay people don't have to, and they have come up with a few recommendations. Actually, it's a 30-page document that you can go on the website and read around our brain health and ways that we can keep ourselves more healthy in all ways, but that will also impact our brain health.
Yeah, this is a very interesting subject as it can affect every one of us. But what I've noticed is that, like what you just talked about, there are a lot of myths and fads and magic pills or magic bullets that will keep you smart, keep you from getting dementia, keep you from getting Parkinson's or any other neurologic disease of the brain. But in fact, none of those are really proven.
None of those are really proven. And again, I like data. I like research. I want to know, what have the studies shown? What actual true results. We all have those anecdotal things, that one person did this and they're okay. So then we decided, that will work for everyone. But I think it's very important to look at the data closely, and that's what the Global Council has done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is really important to look at the data, because you can say, oh, well, it's data, it's just a bunch of numbers. But the numbers aren't just numbers, they represent us. So when you study millions of people and you look at trends of what helped those people, I've noticed that they've kind of broke it down into about 6 different lanes.
Yes, they've come up with this thing called the 6 pillars of brain health. And the great thing is, these aren't necessarily things you have to go out and buy. These are lifestyle changes that we can all choose to implement that will help keep us healthy in all ways, but also research shows can help our brain health as well.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about those 6 pillars.
Okay, well,
let's start with one at a time.
Sure. Well, first I have to say, we want people to remember this, so we came up with kind of an acronym called Be More. B-E-M-O-R-E.
B-E-M-O-R-E.
We want you to be more.
How many letters is that?
That's 6. That's 6. I've counted. So the first one is to be socially active. That's the first one. And we've come through a tough few years with the pandemic, and of course for a while there we weren't supposed to be socially active, and we all kind of retreated. But what the research shows is those people who are more actively engaged with people seem to have better mental health and less depression.
Sure.
And just a healthier brain. And while I know it's difficult, because sometimes as we age we may have physical challenges that don't make it as easy to get out and about as we used to, but it's very important to engage. The good and bad news was we've all become used to Zoom now, but that's a way that we can engage with other people.
Yes.
Without going out, if for some reason we can't. I feel sad. We had a couple of our AARP volunteers. As soon as the pandemic happened, we immediately pivoted to virtual instead of our in-person meetings. And we actually held what we called coffee chats on Zoom for all our volunteers for all those months when we were on lockdown, so that we could engage, so we could chat. We had special speakers, and we did cooking demonstrations and things to engage our folks while we were all at home. And we had a couple of volunteers who had computers. They do email, but they simply said, I don't want to learn that Zoom thing. And I feel badly for them, because we lost touch, and we know how important that is. I actually met with a woman yesterday who was talking about her 91-year-old mother who still plays cards with a group of friends 3 days a week. And that social interaction is so important. Another great program, and I'm sorry I didn't send this number to you, but I want your viewers to know, another great program that AARP has is called the Friendly Voices program.
The Friendly Voices. So
And
tell
this
us.
is for people who are at home and don't get to get out and interact much. You can actually call an 800 number, make an appointment, and a specially trained volunteer will call you back, and you can schedule once a week, every other week, once a month, a friendly phone call where you can just chat and interact. So I want to give your viewers this number, and I'm sorry I didn't send it earlier, but it's 1-888-281-0145, and this is our Friendly Voices program. So we can
So
help
what's
you.
that number again?
1-888-281-0145. Friendly Voices. So
Friendly
that's that
Voices.
first pillar, be socially active.
I think it is so important, not just for brain health, but for mental health.
Absolutely.
When individuals are active, and being an emergency physician, I see a lot of very depressed individuals. And those that seem to be most depressed are those that are at home, alone, and have limited social interaction. It seems like there's nothing worse for depression than to be alone. It is, it's terrible for brain health.
It is. You know, I noticed something interesting. This summer, I actually got to spend a lot of time in Italy. And we were in larger cities and in small villages. And what I noticed was that was markedly different from here in the U.S. is every evening, you know, in the village squares, you would see all these older people. Some of them would have canes, some of them would be with walkers. They might have a caregiver with them or pushing them in a wheelchair, but they were out and about and engaged with other people. And I totally agree, and the research backs that up. It's important.
Yes, very important. So let's talk about the second pillar, the E and B more.
E is engage your brain. That means just like with physical exercise, we got to use it or we lose it. So what are those things that we can do? Well, you know, a lot of people, it used to be the myth, if you did crossword puzzles, that was good for your brain. Or my husband loves Sudoku. And it's not that that's bad for your brain, but what's better for your brain is to challenge it. Learn something new. You know, as a physician, you're probably familiar with plasticity or neuroplasticity. That's when we learn new things, we build new neurons, new connections in our
Yes.
brain. So maybe instead of just doing the crossword every day, change it up. Try to learn a foreign language. You know, I've said since I went to Italy, I'm going to learn Italian. I haven't started yet, but I could. You know, learn to play a musical instrument. Do some things that challenge your brain. Now, another way that you can challenge your brain is to do things with your opposite hand, your non-dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, brush your teeth once a week with your left hand. Remember when we were kids and we used to always try to write our names in cursive with our other hand?
Oh, yes.
And it was always so awkward. Well, start doing that again. I know no one writes anymore, but get out a pad of paper and a pen. You can also, another great easy way to exercise your brain is slip your shoes off. Now, I know we have a lot of diabetics here in West Virginia, and I don't want them running around barefoot and getting a wound. But if you're sitting on your sofa at home, slip your shoes off. Y'all don't have to show my feet. And do a little exercise, because first of all, it's good brain stimulation for the bottom of your feet with all those nerve endings to feel whatever's under their feet other than the inside of your shoe. Write the alphabet with your big toe. And even do lowercase letters, because you have to do a little more movement. So write the alphabet with your right foot, then slip your other shoe off. Write the alphabet with your big toe with your left foot. You'll also probably find that you actually have a dominant foot, just like you have a dominant hand, but that's a great way to engage your brain. Again, being with people is a great way to engage your brain, but we need to challenge it a little bit. We need to not do the same things over and over. Do something new and different so that you learn something new and different and help build those neurons in your brain.
Yes. I tell many patients, the brain is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it will get.
Yes.
Challenge it. Do some math.
Oh,
calculate
Lord,
some
do I have
numbers.
to?
Yes. Yeah. Do math puzzles, not just maybe letter puzzles, but that is one good way to challenge your brain, to make it think, because the more it works, the stronger it will be.
Yes, exactly.
So let's talk about the M, more.
That's the tough one. The M is manage your stress. And I know there are people, your viewers out there are going to roll their eyes at this. How on earth can I manage my stress? I have so much going on. I have, so many burdens and so many challenges. How can I do that? But the research shows that it's important to do that. And the research shows, and actually from attempting some of these, they're not that difficult and they make a difference. For years we'd heard that deep breathing, and meditation is good to manage your stress, but some people aren't into that. Some people find that challenging and difficult. Well, we've heard deep breathing can make a difference. Now, I used to talk about this and share this tip, but I didn't believe it. And one day, I'll be honest, I was stressed to the max. I was at my mother's assisted living. Something had happened. I was, freaking out. I got in my car, and it occurred to me, wait a minute. This was not a life-threatening thing. This was an aggravation. I'm way too agitated. I shouldn't be this agitated. So I decided to do what I had advised people to do many times. And it's a simple deep breathing exercise. You just breathe in for a count of 4 or 5 through your nose, hold it for a count of 4 or 5, and then exhale through your mouth. And I did that 4 or 5 times. And I did calm down. And I found out that actually does send signals to your brain. It tells your brain to calm down. It will help lower your blood pressure. Slow your heart rate just a bit. I was astounded. And then, of course, I thought, well, you idiot. You should have done this sooner. But simple things like that. Another simple thing, go outside. Go outside. Research shows that going out in the sunlight, even on a cloudy day, is beneficial for your stress. And if you can,
absolutely,
while you're out there, walk around. Maybe you can't walk 3 blocks or 1.5 miles. Can you walk around your yard? Can you walk around your patio? Can you go out and be in the daylight and focus for a few minutes on the out of doors, whether it's a tree or the parking lot across the way or the blue sky, or listen to the birds? Research shows that actually will calm us down and ease our stress. Stop that adrenaline from coursing through us so much. Take a moment to do something you really enjoy. I have affinity for family caregivers. I don't know, family caregivers sometimes say, I don't have time to take care of myself. But could you read 1 page of a favorite book? Not a whole chapter, not the whole book maybe, but could you stop a moment and read 1 page of a favorite book? Could you put on a favorite song and listen to it?
Change your mood.
Some soothing music that can really change your mood and calm you down. And that's good for our brains.
Oh, absolutely. So 1 is keep things in perspective.
Yeah.
And 2, look for modalities to shift the mood, relieve the stress. Take a breather. Literally take a breather.
Literally take a breather.
Yes.
That's right.
So let's talk about the big O.
The big O is
more.
Ongoing exercise. Now, we're not saying that people have to go up there and train for a marathon or train for mountain climbing. What we want people to do is start moving more than they have been. We need ongoing exercise. It's not enough to do it once a week or once a month. I took that long walk last week. That's great, but you need to do it again this week. But you can start slow and you can start easy. It's important to find something that you enjoy doing. I just found out that here in Kanawha County at the South Charleston Community Center, they have line dancing classes. Line dancing was popular, and it kind of went away. Well, it's back. Dancing is a wonderful exercise. If nobody's around, put on your favorite song and, move out. Don't just rock out, but move. I often hear people say that, well, I can't exercise. I have bad knees, I have bad hips, I can't. Yes, we can. We can sit right here and we can move more than we have been. We can get up during the television commercials and do that minute and a half or 5 minutes, whatever, however long that move, walk around your living room. You can sit right here and you can do this and work those quads. Yes, you can exercise. Now, research shows that we really, as older adults, should get about 150 minutes of exercise a week. That's only 30 minutes a day. And again, if you want to break it up, you want to do it during the television commercials while you watch General Hospital or The Price is Right, that can help you do it. If you want to do some leg lifts while you're at your kitchen counter waiting for your toast to pop up out of the toaster, do that as well. But the point is to do some ongoing movement more than we have been. And of course, if we want your goal to be that 150 minutes, but start slow, start easy, and add to it as you go along. It really does improve your mood and improves your mental outlook. It can reduce your stress, and it's good for your brain as well as your cardiovascular system.
Yeah, many years ago, there was a physicist, and his name was Newton, Sir Isaac Newton. And Newton, one of his laws is a body at rest tends to stay at rest. A body in motion tends to stay in motion. So we either move it or lose it.
Yep, he knew what he was talking about.
Oh yes, oh yes. So let's move on to the R.
R. R is restorative sleep. Now, there are a couple myths about sleep. One of the myths is older people don't sleep as much as younger people, or older people don't need as much sleep as younger people. But in recent years, research has shown that yes, we do need sleep. We need at least 7 to 8 hours of good sleep a night. Now, maybe our sleep patterns have changed as we've gotten older. I don't know about you, but I find that I get tired a little earlier in the evening than I used to. And I might wake up a little earlier than I used to, but I still need those 7.5 hours of sleep. And it's very important that we develop habits that will help us sleep. So for instance, we all need to put those screens down and screens away, at least an hour or so before we're ready to go to sleep, because we know that blue light from those electronic devices is not good for our sleep. It's proven that a cooler room gives you better sleep than a warmer room, so turn the thermostat down. Now that might mean you need an extra blanket, but that's okay. Still, that cooler room may help you sleep. It's important to be careful about your caffeine intake. I have found that as I age, I need to stop the caffeine earlier in the day so that it won't impact my sleep. This is an interesting one in the research. Research shows that sometimes sleeping with our little furry friends can impact our quality of sleep. So if you've got that little precious dog or kitty cat that sleeps with you, if they interfere with your sleep, it might be best to move them to the crate or their own little bed, because research has shown that sometimes our furry friends interrupt our sleep. It can be as simple as, maybe you need a new mattress. I have a friend who just got a new mattress, and she said, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how badly I was sleeping until I got the new mattress. Maybe that's an issue. Maybe it's your pillow. How many times do you have to punch that pillow every night to get it? Maybe you need a new pillow. But it's very important that we do what we can to get those 7 hours of sleep. And you know what? A nap's okay too. Yep. If you need a nap and you've got time, I love a good nap. Oh. But that restorative sleep is good, and that's one of the things that happens in our brains. It's a physiological process, I guess, and, that our brains kind of clear out the junk while we sleep.
It's a reset.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And we know from many years of research and study of the human body that during sleep is when human growth hormone is released, and that's when healing occurs. And our brain needs healing after a day of work. So it's very, very important to get good sleep. Another technique that I've talked to patients about is having some white noise, like a fan, that helps drown out any little sounds that might occur in your house, or a dog bark or other animal, or
exactly.
a horn, and that helps keep us in a state of rest. So, all right, we're almost there at the Big E.
The Big E.
Yes.
Big E. That one is eat right. Again, that goes back to the blue zones that are so popular.
Yes.
And we heard, for many years the Mediterranean diet was better for us, or the DASH diet was better for us. Some researchers at Rush University came up with a combination they called the MIND diet. But what it means is eating the right kinds of foods. And unfortunately for people like me who love my red meat, that might mean that I have a little bit less red meat. Maybe I need to add more fruits and vegetables, especially those dark leafy greens like kale and spinach. Those are important. We need to think about our omega-3s. We used to hear about omega-6. Well, now we know that omega-3s are good for our cardiovascular health and our brain health. That might mean putting down the chips and having a handful of walnuts. Berries are great for our brains. Raspberries, strawberries, blueberries being the superfood.
Yes.
Got to have the blueberries. Chia seeds and hemp seeds are good for our omega-3s. And I happen to have a friend who has diverticulitis and said, I can't eat those kinds of things. I found a way for her. You can put them in your coffee grinder. If you grind your own coffee beans,
oh yes,
you can grind those seeds, and it doesn't bother your diverticulitis. But it's important for us to get those vitamins. It also means that we probably need to push aside the butter and use more olive oil when we cook, and the sugar. I love it. I love my donuts, I love my Oreos, but you know what? Sugar is just not good for our overall health, and it's proven it's not good for our brains either. So we need to adjust our diets and eat right so that we can be healthy in all ways, but it also impacts our brain. There was a myth for many years that all these kinds of things were good for our cardiovascular health, but it didn't impact our brain. Well, it does impact our brain in positive ways. So we're doing two good things when we eat right.
Oh, yes. Diet is so important as it affects blood pressure, our sugar, as you talked about, the glucose levels, and controlling and limiting diabetes. It impacts the amount of sodium that we have in our system, the amount of protein that we have, that for those with kidney disease. Too much protein is a bad thing for those with kidney disease, especially heart disease. Here in West Virginia, heart disease rates are so high. So limiting the red meats and the bad fats, such as
the biscuits
butter
and the sausage gravy that we all love here in West Virginia.
They taste great, but that doesn't necessarily make them good for us. Well, Jane, I want to thank you very much for joining us here on the show. It's been a pleasure and very educational. Thank you for presenting the 6 pillars of brain health, and have a great day.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for joining us here on Spotlight on